Well, you're all in luck because I tried to do a Lucille Ball impression and it sounded like Paul Led. I was like, "Oh, Ricky."
It's funny. Okay.
Center wins the square.
Yeah. Oh my God, Carl, I've been, thinking of you so much because of just, even these shootings when they're not specifically Uvalde, it's, of course nobody can get over this toddler. I mean, it's the children involved in these things. I'm sorry. It's not that it's not all horrific. It's all horrific, but, the father obviously was shielding the 2-year-old. So both the parents died. I mean, it is just the toddler's wandering around. I mean, all over Twitter, Melody said, I keep thinking about the toddler. He was born during the pandemic. His parents probably had a rough 2 years. They took him to a parade. Now he has to grow up without parents.
Yeah.
It's just, I know everybody, you can't help. There's always, for me, because I'm very close to my mom, the girl that was running with her mom, and her mom's shot in the chest. And her, because of the power of these weapons, Carl, she knows immediately that her mother's dead. So she said, I literally had to say, I love you. I have to keep running because he's still shooting. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we really are finally at a breaking point that Americans do not want to live like this anymore. And
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
One of the other things I read was that the kids who were at the parade knew what to do because of the drills that they've been going through.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's the world we live in.
Yeah, we've trained them. This is normal. Right. Yeah.
And highly unfortunate that that's the case. And meanwhile, you've got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene who are telling, podcast hosts that, wondering whether or not this is a plot by Democrats to get Republicans to support gun control because the shooting happened at a 4th of July parade.
She said the same thing in Vegas. This is obviously, targeted right-wing people at a country thing so the Republicans will vote for. It's insane. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. The normal stuff we see on Fox. One of the docs we followed tweeted a note from psychiatrist with 4 years of medical school training, 3 years in adult psychiatry, 2 years as a child and adolescent psych fellow. It is not marijuana. It's not antidepressants. It's the guns, white nationalists, Fox News, and the conservatives who enabled this all.
Yep.
I mean, it's just how many times can you read the same storyline?
Yeah.
And
it's the guns, it's the guns, it's the guns, it's the guns.
Right.
There are too many examples across the globe of countries that, have the same video games, have the same movies and everything else, but they don't have the guns.
Yeah. I wanted you to put on you can put on your school board and your political strategist hat, but Andrew Weinstein tweeted, Democrats should introduce the Aiden McCarthy assault weapons ban and force Republican members of Congress to publicly vote on it. Aiden is the 2-year-old. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They should.
Yeah, and Bex, one last one. A 2-year-old watching both of his parents being slaughtered yesterday was sponsored by the party who calls themselves pro-life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just, I know it sounds even crass to say we have such a strong case politically between Roe and senseless gun slaughter on a daily basis, but we do, I mean,
this isn't politics, though. This is the future.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel the need to apologize because we have a case to make to the people who control the future of the country.
Yeah.
People have a decision to make here. And yes, it is a political decision, but political decisions have real world consequences.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's talking about Republican Representative Debbie Lesko.
Yeah.
I love how people get, you took me out of context. I'm like, I know. Okay, here's what you said. Yeah.
I have 5 grandchildren. I would do anything to protect my 5 grandchildren, including, as a last resort, shooting them if I had to protect the lives of my grandchildren.
What?
Democrat bills that we've heard this week want to take away my right to protect my grandchildren.
By shooting them.
To shoot your own grandchildren?
Yes.
Has anyone checked on her grandchildren this
Yeah,
morning?
she's not getting any more babysitting.
Right, but then here we go, to crank up the fake outrage. And it never ceases to amaze me the length gun control zealots will go to. They turn my speech about protecting Second Amendment rights and my right to protect my grandchildren from violent criminals into a claim that I would harm my own grandchildren. That's absolutely ridiculous.
You said exactly that, lady.
Well, and look, if she can show how any of these bills would keep her from owning a firearm to quote unquote protect her grandchildren, forgetting for a moment that having a gun in the home makes it far more likely that there will be an accident or a suicide.
Yeah.
Then fine. But the fact is, none of the legislation proposed will impede lawful gun ownership in this country.
Yeah.
She might be inconvenienced before she buys her umpteenth gun because she'll have to wait a little longer.
Yeah.
But that's the price we pay for the freedoms in this country. Every freedom has a responsibility along with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, specifically, Carl, I think you being on a school board, it's just, I guess it's in polling too, like you would look at if you were still a political strategist. It's just that I can't imagine this is not going to impact the midterms, that people have not just had it. It is like an endless, so we just talked about the BA5, that it's worse than ever. Right. And you had these battles over masks and vaccinations in schools. And it just seems like, oh, my God, here we are again, back with losing more people than ever from COVID and these mass slaughters. I mean, and how long will it be before it's a school again? Right. It's just like spin the wheel. This was another Vegas again.
The only thing that's predictable.
Yeah.
There are two things that are predictable about gun violence. One, that Washington won't do anything really meaningful about it. Now, granted, grateful for the legislation that was passed. Certainly did not go far enough. And the second thing is that it'll happen again.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we were saying yesterday, Carl. It's not about, we realize you're not going to prevent every one of them, but can we prevent them from happening every friggin' day? I mean, it's this whole, by the way, I don't know what your take is on this. Where was this? Just the, Meet the, how do you say his name? I don't even want to. Cremo. Meet the Cremos. Son threatens to kill himself. Son threatens to kill his family. Son has 16 knives taken away. Father then sponsors son application to buy guns. Son then murders 7 people at a 4th of July parade. Should the father bear criminal responsibility? Yes. I mean, and what is up with our background check and or red flag? That obviously it needs to be fixed, but I think I'm sick of saying politically, oh well, we can't get an assault weapons ban. That's too much. We can maybe get this or that. People want an assault weapons ban. Yep. Hugely. Yeah, they sure do. People want.
They sure do.
And again, like they said, where's the cop yesterday's talked about? Hang on one second. 6, the Lake County State's attorney, real quick.
The people who lost their lives and the people who will be suffering from the psychological and physical trauma have lost their freedom. And their freedom matters too. And because of access to these deadly assault weapons, people are losing their freedom all over the country. And we have to come together as a state and as a nation and say, we are not going to allow that. We should have the assault weapon ban that was present in 1994 with bipartisan support and law enforcement support. We had a bipartisan coalition to have that assault weapon ban in 1994, and we should have it again.
These are the numbers I was looking for yesterday, Carl. When President Clinton banned assault rifles in 1994, mass shootings dropped by 43%. After Republicans let the ban expire in 2004, they increased 243%. Yep. These numbers tell a story. I mean, so, and that's what they're saying is, even if they're banned in Illinois, everyone knows just go to Indiana and get one. Go to wherever, right? Missouri. I mean, this is why we need a national ban. I mean,
Right. Well, you need a national ban. You need to make it so that you can sue gun manufacturers. We need to require registration, the basic things that have to be done that have nothing to do with somebody who wants to have a rifle to go hunting with their kids, so long as they securely store it in between. This is about protecting everybody, protecting the community at large.
Yeah. Ronald Brownstein, the writer out here, you probably know him in LA Times, but just, again, one bloodstained toddler found orphaned, another thrust into a garbage bin for safety by his father. By now it's clear those opposing assault weapon and large magazine bans are explicitly choosing to accept such horrors on a regular basis so that gun ownership won't be restricted. I mean, period. Right? This is just cost of doing business, and you said, it's so funny, I picked that out too, Carl, the whole story. Just about how calm and orderly the children were. Frankly, I don't want to live in a country where kids are trained like a little army to expect to be shot to death at any moment of their lives, right?
I mean, you still hear stories about how kids don't go to the restroom during the day because they don't want to be separated from their classes because they know if something happens, they have to stay where they are. And they don't want to be alone in the bathroom during a shooting.
Yeah.
This is what elementary school students think about. And that's unfortunate, highly unfortunate.
Yeah. And I got to get your take, Carl, not just as a school board member, but a gay person about Florida. I just think people, it's like we talked about the boiling, frog. This is fascism. I mean, what's happening in Florida? This, gay teachers got to put, pictures of their significant others away. No rainbows. No, I mean, I just am.
Anita Bryant would be very proud.
Yes, yeah.
She is still alive, but I guess I made it sound like she was dead.
People didn't know Bill O'Reilly was still alive till we played a soundbite yesterday.
I thought she died. I honestly thought she died.
I'll Google it.
She hadn't died, even though her lesbian daughter was married last year.
Oh, well, that's
her granddaughter, rather.
Congratulations.
But look, the only way that's going to change is
so Irony's dead, but she's still alive as well.
Right.
Okay.
Hopefully, there will be some lawsuits
Yeah.
to intercede here. This is something, by the way, a version of something that was rejected by voters in California in 1978.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that tells you how far back they're pulling from.
Yeah.
In Florida, and
Some of these laws, the abortion laws, are from 1925, Carl.
right.
I mean,
right.
we're just like, we're not even in the 1950s now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think anybody who supports the abortion laws from 1925 should only be allowed to have medicine as practiced in 1925.
Leeches. Yeah, leeches are all you get for everything.
Bloodletting, yeah.
Yes. Last one. I love this mayor of Highland Park. I just, again, I think it's the conversation we're having is more the normalizing of this and the water boiling around us. She said she received a handbook specifically designed for mayors whose cities have gone through mass shootings after this, the July 4th tragedy. She said, what does that say for us? We have a handbook for mass shootings. Mitch McConnell gave a speech on mental health. There's mental health issues in every country in the world. There's not mass shootings on such a regular basis anywhere else, and it has to stop. She said, and again, this just the toddler shit. I have to tell you the story that will haunt me for the rest of my life. Aiden McCarthy, he was found under his father, who was on top of him to protect him from the gun. He was being passed around in an underground garage. No one can figure out whose child it was. And when I realized nobody was panicking and looking for a baby, there could be one conclusion. I almost threw up. It was unbelievable. This poor little boy came with his parents to celebrate freedom and now has lost his parents. She said, we need to run for office and take our country back. I'm sorry, I'm so angry, but I'm angry. I'm angry for my community. I'm angry for Aiden McCarthy. I'm angry for the kid who next week will be Aiden McCarthy. This needs to end. I mean,
meanwhile, Republicans in Congress are saying, maybe if we just ignore it, they'll go away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you've been ignoring it for the entire time.
Yeah.
And yet it still happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't. Okay. Can I just do one more while we have you here? A Texas police officer had the Uvalde gunman in his sights but never fired a shot, believing perhaps incorrectly that he needed permission to fire, according to a new study done there. The officer, armed with a rifle, asked his supervisor for permission to shoot the suspect. However, the supervisor either did not hear or responded too late. The officer turned to get confirmation from his supervisor. When he turned back to address the suspect, he had entered the West Hallway unabated. And there goes, between that and the parade, Carl, every single argument about good guys with guns, right?
Yeah.
A good guy with guns every 6 feet at the July 4th parade, right? I mean, it's I just...
I mean, this is, by the way, about protecting good guys with guns, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they're in danger as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right, can we break, Chris?
I
wasn't sure we were giving me this, Carl. I'm sorry to keep you so long. I was going to do every story I have with you. Because
I think he wanted you to play with some fresh mozzarella.
That's it.
All right.